Today we're providing an update on the status of our travel restrictions for the Greater Brisbane and Greater Sydney regions. Understand earlier today Queensland reported only the one new case of coronavirus in hotel quarantine and no new cases of community transmission, which is good news. They appear to be right on top of the circumstance there. This is positive and importantly means that at this stage with that state's authorities, they're on track to lift even further restrictions by this Friday. Based on this news and informed by public health advice, we're going to step our risk rating down from high risk to medium risk, effective immediately. This means that effective immediately, travellers from the Greater Brisbane area will be able to travel to Tasmania. However, they will still be required to quarantine either at a suitable residence if they have one or in government designated accommodation at their own expense. So the high risk rating has been lifted and we will move to medium risk immediately, meaning that people can come to Tasmania but obviously there will still be a quarantine arrangement in place. By this coming Friday though, and noting the steps that have been outlined by Queensland, I'd be hopeful that, subject to the situation in Brisbane continuing its positive trend, we could move to classify Greater Brisbane as low risk, meaning a return to unrestricted travel from the Greater Brisbane area from the end of this week. But we will keep that under observation and we'll consider that as we move through the course of the week, but effective immediately, Greater Brisbane will step down to a medium risk location. One of the key reasons for that, and the reason for being relatively cautious, is the matter of the UK strain of the virus, which has been detected in 6 people linked to their hotel quarantine, which we know the details of. I won't go through those. But we want to be confident that all contact tracing efforts have been exhausted. By the end of this week, we'd be hopeful, as I've said, that we'll see a lifting of our restrictions in line with measures being relaxed within Brisbane itself. In terms of New South Wales and Victoria, in terms of the Greater Sydney region, this is currently classified as medium risk, and whilst New South Wales recorded no new cases of locally acquired infection in the past 24 hours. Yesterday the state had 6 new cases and authorities are continuing to urge the community to get tested to ensure any unknown transmission is detected. Based on this and informed by our public health officials, we intend to maintain our medium risk classification for the time being for the Greater Sydney region and the Wollongong local government area. We believe this is a responsible and sensible approach. We need to ensure that we are confident that there aren't any cases in the community which haven't yet been detected before we look to move that risk assessment to a lower rating. Again, we'd expect to have an update on the status of Greater Sydney at the end of this week. And finally, in terms of Victoria, travel from the entirety of the state of Victoria goes back to being low risk after a number of premises that were previously classified as high risk and centred around the Black Rock cluster have now been removed given the time that has passed since those declarations. So Greater Brisbane, medium risk, Greater Sydney region, medium risk, and low risk for Victoria, and we'll have a further update later this week in terms of the Greater Brisbane area and also Greater Sydney.